And we welcome you into the latest edition of The Meltdown as we're all battling the sinuses of spring. Star Wars just surprised us with a series release announcement. The latest A24 movie expanded this past weekend, but Love Lies Bleeding barely left a mark on the weekend box office as Kung Fu Panda and Dune Part 2 continue to dominate. However, there are some new movies worth buzzing about this week, and our team will have you covered. And Luntz's List profiles the 5 actors that should be on the short list to become the next James Bond. It's all straight ahead on The Meltdown, presented by MyBookie, broadcasting live from the Culver studio.
2 big boys in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know to make sound. A meltdown, it's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown, let's start the show.
First off, thank you to all of our loyal Meltdonians on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. Thank you for making us a part of your daily routine. We appreciate you being here. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button for us while you're here. And John Lunsford, that is the other half of The Meltdown. John, you saw 3 movies this weekend, according to my count.
I did. I saw, I guess 4 if you count the 4 of the 4-day weekend with Love Lies Bleeding. But yeah, I saw Ricky Stenicki on Amazon, which is, it's kind of as stupid as it sounds, but Zac Efron, the main person in that, John Cena. John Cena has a chance to really make it, I think. But he's trying to be so goofy in everything he does now, I just don't know. But it's all right. It's on Prime if you want to go watch it. Then I watched Wonka on Saturday, one of the few movies from last year. I still had on my list for whatever reason. Everything kept me from seeing it, and I finally watched it. I really, really liked it.
Who does Wonka star again? I'm trying to remember.
Gene Wilder?
No, it's somebody
Johnny
else.
Depp?
No, it's a younger guy.
Oh, Timothée Chalamet.
That's it. Thank you very much for that, Rockstar.
So probably the 2 best movies I've seen in this calendar year, even though it's a 2023 movie, both star.
Timothée Chalamet.
With that and Dune. And then yesterday, what did I watch yesterday? What did I watch last night? What did I tell you I watched?
It was some movie that...
Oh, Self-Reliance on Hulu. It's Jake Johnson's his name from New Girl. He wrote, directed, produced, and starred in it with Andy Samberg's in it for like a hot second, but it's a Lonely Island produced movie. Anna Kendrick's the main girl in it. But anyway, it was okay. It's worth watching if you're really bored and have like an hour and 20 minutes to kill.
Whole thing's about trying to stay alive for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, basically, if he can stay alive for 30 days, he gets $1 million. And so, but you can't die as long as you're with somebody. So like right now, nobody could kill me in this room because I'm with y'all. But if I were to walk outside the parking lot by myself, I could get got. So it's an interesting premise, but delivers on a few laughs. That's about it.
There is one thing from the parking lot that's killing both me and Tyler, and that is the pollen that we have somehow ingested into our system. Tyler, how are you holding up here on this Monday?
Oh man, I'm hanging in there. I don't know if I'll make it, Tim. I'll be honest.
We're going to do a Tyler watch the entire
He came
episode.
in this morning with the next round, and he was just... and he's like, hey, is there any Benadryl downstairs I can go get? And I was like, just go get some medicine. Okay, I'm leaving. And he left.
That's a good Tasmanian devil.
He came back and sounded a lot better after he had taken the medicine. So.
Oh, my gosh. Tyler, I believe you have for us a Spider-Man update.
Yes. In Spider-Man news, there's nothing. But... we have a new video game adaptation in the works, and it just got its cast.
Video game adaptations are hot right now.
Yeah. Are you guys fans of the game Among Us?
Yes, I have played a decent amount of Among Us, yes.
I've had this thing downloaded forever and have yet to play it.
It would be really fun for all of us, and even some more people up here, to play Among Us.
I agree.
It would be fun. We need to figure it out one day.
For those that don't know, the premise of the game is there's some rat in the group and you got to figure out who it is.
Yeah, there's an amount of people that you go in, and you have 1 or 2 people that are trying to kill you. So you run around, you have to perform a task, and if the good people perform all their tasks before everybody dies, you win. And then you also, every time somebody dies, you have to come and vote. I think it was Rocky. I think it was Tim. And you try to kick him off the ship, and if you get it right, you also win.
It's basically like The Departed, the video game. That's what this is.
Yeah, actually it kind of is, yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
Well,
Tyler's like, this is my update. I will deliver the news.
Well, the show for Among Us, it's being developed at CBS Studios, and they just cast Elijah Wood and Yvette Nicole Brown as green and orange, respectively, I believe.
Oh, I was going to say, Elijah Wood looks like a good orange. I hope he is orange because
has
that's a good spot for him.
It has Jim from The Office on it too.
Really?
John Krasinski.
I know who you're talking about. Asian Jim.
Randall Park.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the joke only lands if you eventually deliver the punchline.
To be fair, they're literally doing that with If right now, too, making Randall Park promoted instead of John Krasinski. Anyway, moving on. What else is happening in the news?
And Rockstar's here.
Hey.
He provides us our lovely intro theme, which had a little bit of a new blend to it today. I feel like it had a little extra punch to it.
I want to thank Les Newby for that. Old Elegante.
I tell Tim I just put it in there and played it.
Yeah, that's
great.
good. Well, I reached out to him and because I said mine is on a classical guitar. It doesn't really sound that great. I recorded it on my phone, so if we could just amp it up just a little bit to make it like an actual theme song.
Sounds good. I feel like I'm going to run into Mr. Belding when I'm listening to it.
What does he say? Hey, what is going on here?
Yes, made a lot of
Two
money
buildings
off of that
in one building, one of which is balding.
Yes. We're going full Saved by the Bell here. Did y'all like Saved by the Bell the college years?
No.
I felt like it was
I honestly didn't like any
a
of it.
misfire there. But
No.
I didn't like any
you
of
didn't
it.
like any Saved by the Bell at all?
Just never did it for me.
Okay.
I mean, there's iconic moments, sure, in pop culture, but I don't care about the show in general. Anyway, what else is happening in the news?
I got a chance to see the Eras tour this weekend for the very first time. Somehow I have not seen it up until now. It landed on Disney Plus this
I was going to say,
weekend.
man, where'd you
Rockstar.
go?
I know.
South Africa?
It landed on Disney Plus. Have you seen the Eras tour yet at your establishment, your home?
No, we knocked the hell out of Disney Plus, but we have not seen Taylor Swift yet.
Once you run out, I think he needs to watch Taylor Swift.
Yeah, but it's got bonus material in it. It's got that one extra song.
Four
Extra songs.
On top of the 44 that there already were.
Yeah, I'm all in. I'll have a report on it tomorrow.
I showed it to my daughter, who absolutely loved it. She had a fun time with it. We split it up over 3 nights because it's 3.5 hours long, so we got a little
It
bit.
is 3.5
each night.
hours long.
It's 3.5 hours long, and
It's
there
those
were
4 extra songs, man.
Could you watch that 5 times like you did Oppenheimer?
no, I could not.
No, that's excessive to you.
Okay, now you're just mocking me.
No.
The thing is, I feel like I've watched it. I've only watched it 3 times. I still haven't even hit Oppenheimer levels yet.
Yeah, Oppenheimer won Best Picture for a reason, Rockstar. That's all I will say about that. But it
was a great film.
Fantastic. And we did a whole big watch party for the Eras tour. I printed out VIP tickets for the at-home viewing, which was a nice hit. Our sales manager, Kelsey, gave me a guitar. You've been asking why I've been lugging a guitar around. And it's because Kelsey gave me a guitar and the hat and a bunch of shimmery outfit stuff and like a dress. And I mean, she gave me glow sticks and all sorts of things. And then John and Laurel provided actual merchandise from the tour.
Jeez.
So I was able to go with that. Yeah. Let's show. And then this is my daughter. And we had a great time on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday watching the Eras tour. So I went through all 10 Eras over the course of 3 days.
I mean, it looks like Taylor Swift to me.
Yeah.
I mean, all in.
There we go. So that's Chloe, and she had a great experience, and we had a lot of fun there watching that on Disney Plus. I thought the presentation was really good. I just can't get into the music.
No.
To me, there's no connectivity with her music with me.
I respect what she does, and she's like the biggest thing right now. But I can't connect to that music.
You're not a 20-something girl that's been through heartbreak?
What's the song that she does where she sings about that heartbreak with that one guy?
There's 48 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to create a rift or anything, but like I like Olivia Rodrigo's music, which is supposed to be part of that same sort of mix.
If I were to do power rankings of all the songs of Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift, I'd say within my lunches list, it'd probably be 2 and 3, and I don't know which way it would be, honestly. I mean, that I can see both of them. I can understand liking Olivia Rodrigo more.
But I can understand. I mean, there's constant shots to the crowd that's just sobbing.
It was
in
like
tears, and
Beatlemania.
it was like Beatlemania.
It's
watching
insane.
it.
Well, I couldn't hear for a week after I left her concert in Atlanta. I mean, it was awful, the amount of girls screaming at the top of their lungs.
And what kind of vantage point did you have during the actual
Terrible. We
Eras
were on the
tour?
floor, VIP, bought the best tickets possible we could, so it could be a whole experience. And it was a great experience until the concert started. And then I think it kind of depends probably on where you are. So it wasn't bad for me to look up and watch. You don't want to do, but you do even at a football game. You'll watch the jumbotron instead of the game on the action on the field sometimes because it's a better shot. So Atlanta has one of the circles around, like the top. It's not like one thing in the middle, but I feel like anywhere if you went like Jerry World down to Dallas, if you were on the floor, you wouldn't be able to see anything because it's right above you. It's like hanging down from the middle like it is like in basketball and hockey arenas. So I imagine that would be awful to watch as opposed to like SoFi, which is what this was on Disney Plus. It has the circle too, to where you can see more of it. But from the ground, the stage is probably, it's probably 2 or 3 feet taller than you are. Maybe not you, but sitting on the ground. And I'm sorry, I had to.
I am going to take a symbolic shot of lemon juice out of my tiny little lemon that I'm going to drink out of. Which, by the way, I've been using this thing all day, and John has been mocking me for it.
It's so weird.
But it's helping with the congestion. It's helping with the pollen. I suggest, Tyler, next you get some lemon juice.
I thought you were gonna just put that into your
water.
water.
See, that's what I thought too.
Just drink right out of it.
But no, he's just straight up shooting lemon juice all day.
It's good. I love sour stuff.
Yeah, that face you made definitely told me it was good.
Yeah. Need some lime. You can make some
look
homemade
like
Sprite.
that. I didn't look like that. Look, watch this.
No, I don't want to.
Please don't.
Hold it in. You did the squint.
You tell us, chat.
It's
Was he
great.
grimacing there?
No, it's really good. It's effective at being lemon juice. I know what I'm getting out of the transaction. What were you saying about Taylor Swift or something?
I think one of the coolest things about her show is the floor is a screen too, and is part of the overall look. When you're on the floor, you can't see the floor because it's actually above you. So it's much better being in that. Her show, so like Olivia Rodrigo, I got second level, kind of that club level where there's only like a few rows, mostly because it's just less people. That's why I like sitting there for Preds games. So I got the same seats I get for Preds games for that concert, but it's over to the side and it was up too high. It'd have been better being low for her. But for Taylor Swift, sitting about that club level, about halfway up in like a football stadium, probably would have been best because you could take in the overall. The other thing is most concerts are over in, down on one end, unless they're in the round. Like Harry Styles did in the round when I went to go see him in Atlanta, and he had a stage that stretched from one end to the other. Yeah. So he could go visit the crowds on either side, but if you were up a little bit, you could enjoy the show. Taylor Swift's not in the round, but the stage is essentially built that way to where she comes out a lot, even though there's still a stage at one end. It's almost like a
catwalk.
Yeah, there's a big catwalk with a big diamond in the middle. That it would have been a lot better to enjoy it up. So go into the show, even though it looks like you're in pain from
It's the pollen that I'm in the pain from. It's not the lemon juice. I'll do this all show.
You go for it. But anyway, it's cool to be on the ground and among the people, and we were just far enough. We weren't so far back that when she stepped out to where we were, we couldn't be like really close to her to see her. But the other thing is there's so many lights around the stage that block your vantage point from where you are, that it wasn't great being on the ground. So if I ever got tickets again, I would say don't splurge for the ground tickets. Not that they're all not, 5,000 plus for any ticket you can get. But anyway, I'm done talking now.
I think Tim checked out.
No, I didn't check out. I was there for the whole thing. What I liked about the Eras Tour was the theatricality of it.
You can't see it on the floor. That's the biggest thing.
There really was a lot of that, and I was into that. The presentation's great, and it took me 3 days to get through it. I mean, she's performing the whole thing in one night.
Yeah.
It's amazing what she's accomplishing. So I'm
doing it multiple nights a week, and then going to another city doing the same thing over again.
I'm not a hater.
I mean, that's why I always say the agility and the stamina. Like, imagine how you're feeling today. If she has that today, what do you do?
Oh, the thing is, I was dying.
Yeah.
Like, I literally, it was all I could do just to walk back to the car after the concert because I'm not the most athletic person right now to where I can sit there and endure all that. And the next morning, I mean, I felt like I had the world's worst hangover, like I had been hit by a truck. It's like, oh, she did those 3 nights in a row, was actually up on the stage dancing, and I was just there kind of just existing. I don't see how she does it.
But, John, I would like to see you tackle it now compared to a few months ago. You've been making some big, significant changes in your life. No, this is the truth.
No.
And I think that now I'd like to see that endurance test a little bit more. And I would like to see even more a year from now, that endurance test, because we both are on a great program that we love, which allows me to have as much lemon juice as I can possibly handle. And that's Way to Wellness.
We are on a great program right now. And yes, I'm a lot healthier than I was when I went to that concert a little under a year ago. Go to aplanforme.com. You too can get on that plan and, figure out what works best for you with Leslie. Her whole board certified team there can get you on that plan. I'm on it. Tim's on it now. My dad is on it. Jim Dunaway's done a great job with it. So go visit them at Way to Wellness, just down the street here from us. We love going down there. We're going to head down there in a couple of days and, hold each other accountable once we get there and film a little content for you as well. So hopefully we'll get that out for you. So that way, instead of looking at me, you can see us actually in action at Way to Wellness. But visit them at planforme.com for our friends at Way to Wellness.
The Eras Tour is on Disney Plus. Another thing dropping on Disney Plus is a new Star Wars show that we were not expecting news to drop on today. A poster for The Acolyte has dropped within the past couple of hours, and I love this poster. There's two versions of this poster. There is this version in which you're seeing right now. There's also a much smaller sort of horizontal version of this poster that's not nearly as good, but it just has basically the hilt and the information that you need to know down at the bottom. But this is the superior of the two posters, and I'm glad John is showing this one. John, if you were just going to rate your reaction to the poster, this is top-tier Star Wars, in my opinion. This is one of the coolest posters I've ever seen.
So I'll compare this to what Disney's doing with Marvel as well. So Marvel has been very family-friendly for the most part. I mean, yeah, they cuss every now and then, and yeah, there's some, in all the fighting, you'll see the occasional violent scene. But I think one of the best scenes from anything Marvel has ever done, even though overall the show is forgettable in the grand scheme of things, is Falcon and Winter Soldier. There was a scene where U.S. agent, isn't that his name?
Yes.
He takes the shield and beats somebody so bad that he ends up basically cutting him in half and holds up a bloody shield afterward. Jeez. It's adult. I mean, it sounds bad compared to what you typically see, but the shot is one of the best shots in all of Marvel because it shows, oh man, this is for real now. And
Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son.
Right. And this kind of does the same thing for Star Wars. Now, we're getting hard R things because they've obviously picked up with Fox, they've picked up Deadpool and stuff like that. But this shows kind of for Star Wars, hey, we're kind of stepping into that same territory. It's like, hey, this is going to get real by having this. Plus, it kind of plays off the Kylo lightsaber, how it was rougher.
Yeah.
But whether you think that's one of the better lightsabers or not, it was such a rough look because he kind of put it together himself.
In terms of functionality, I would not want to fight with the Kylo Ren lightsaber, but I think it looks awesome.
It looks cool. It's the little bits out the edge. I like the rough overall blade instead of that really solid blade. Boy, this is really bad.
Oh, keep going, guys.
Chop your fingers off. I'm going to drink some more lemon. Y'all go ahead.
But anyway, I do like the poster. I'm getting off of this. We started making gestures.
Poster's great. I'm a big fan of the poster. Will the series be any good? Who knows? But we can all enjoy the poster. We're supposed to be getting a trailer dropping tomorrow. We will do a trailer reaction video here on the Meltdown for it. But for those that don't know, The Acolyte is a series that's supposed to take place before Episode 1. I think one of the biggest issues that Star Wars has had in marketing their television shows
Not enough content.
Telling general fans what time period it takes place in and making them understand that before they start the show. And I just think that that's going to be part of the marketing of this. Tomorrow, we're going to have to see something that lets us know this was set, was it like 100 years before
100 years
Episode
before.
1?
It's like in a galaxy far away, I think.
Yes.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Here's what made games like Knights of the Old Republic so good is it was like almost 4,000 years before the Star Wars that we know now. And it kind of set the origins for everything. And so I like that they're going before. It's only 100 years before, but like you're going back to, hey, you had to get to this point. I know the prequels ended up setting up Darth Vader basically, but it's like that was still so long after the Jedi existed, the Sith existed, before the Force was a thing. I mean, I like seeing these kind of help set things up. So I'm hoping we get a lot of that. Two of the things I've been missing most from Star Wars, especially in the Disney era, one, the political side of things, especially after the prequels, and two, the old school setup to how we ultimately got to where, I mean, how did Coruscant become what it is? You look at that planet and it's almost Blade Runner-ish how the planet looks, but like, how did you get to that point? And then I like having the explanation to how all these different places got to where they were in the films that we all love.
Yeah, we have Nick providing some clarity there in the chat. The Acolyte is set at the end of the High Republic era in a world of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers, approximately 100 years before Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So that High Republic era is an era that not a lot of general Star Wars fans are going to know a lot about. And part of tomorrow, what I have to see from this trailer is them selling just that era of Star Wars and make that era interesting. Tyler, we'll do our full reaction tomorrow to the trailer as that has been teased by Disney that it will be dropped then. What do you need to see from the trailer to get excited about Star Wars once again?
So like you guys were saying, that poster is really cool. That has been one of the best draws for me to actually watch a Disney Plus Star Wars for me so far. But, I mean, if I can see a cool world in the trailer that has some level of familiarity to what I've already seen, maybe some new planets.
Yeah, I'm dying over here with my sinuses, but I love where you're going here with all of this. But you're right. I want to see the world. I want to see what makes this era of Star Wars interesting, and we will give our full reaction tomorrow. Tyler, I'm glad that you're excited just based on the poster alone, because I'm excited based on the poster alone, because Star Wars and Disney, it hasn't been the best marriage in recent years, and now there's a chance to build some true excitement just based on what this poster promises us, which is a more brutal version of a story we've not yet heard.
Yeah, I need a reason to go get Disney Plus and watch all of the Star Wars stuff they've been putting out on there. Because
there's enough now. I'd say it's worth it, even before this, but this will definitely push it over.
I just hate my favorite franchises when I was really young, and now I just kind of don't care when they release something. So I need something to reinvigorate that.
Did you see the sort of the Lando news that came out with Billy D. Williams? He was talking about the new version of Lando that was featured in Solo.
I did not see that.
And he was basically like, there's only one Lando. I mean, I told the kid, the one thing you got to have is charisma, but let's be honest.
Okay, buddy.
At the end of the day, there's only one Lando, but if they want to pay me a boatload of money, then I'll come back and I'll do whatever.
I told the kid.
Yeah.
I'd say Donald Glover's pretty big to where he's not just like the kid. But.
Right. I mean, I think it was affectionate, but I mean, he was basically like, look,
I thought
I'm
he
the
did
only
good.
Lando.
And
And guess
Billy
what?
D.
I agree with Billy D. Williams. There is only one Lando because they haven't done anything with Donald Glover since
But
Solo came out.
Billy D's 800 years old now, so he can't go play a young Lando.
Rise of Skywalker didn't help his case, to be honest, because what we saw from Lando and Solo was actually better stuff.
The best part of that was Billy D. Williams said he'd come back to Star Wars if they paid him a boatload of money, and he said he'd sell his soul for it.
Yeah, he did. He actually said, "I will sell my soul."
Anything else going on? So I guess
it's up for a price here. So a lot of Star Wars news this past weekend, but the coolest thing is definitely. Can we just see that poster one more time?
Yes.
I love this poster. I want a copy of this poster in here at some point because, I mean, if I ever see that thing up for grabs, I'm getting it. I'm blown away by how cool that poster is. It's the splatter around the hilt that really sells it for me. And I know that sounds sort of sinister when I say the splatter around the hilt.
Well, no, I mean, I think it is kind of the moment of Captain America's shield being covered in blood.
Yeah,
I mean, this is kind of
that's
the
a
same
good
thing with a lightsaber.
That is such an awesome poster. Okay, enough about geeking out over that. We'll have more reaction after we see the actual first footage, the Acolyte, tomorrow. Let's talk about the weekend box office. Variety confirms that Kung Fu Panda 4 nabbed $30 million domestically in its second weekend of release. After 10 days on the big screen, the animated family film has grossed $176.5 million globally. Has anybody in here seen Kung Fu Panda 4, or does anybody in here want to see Kung Fu Panda 4?
I want to. I have seen the other three. I enjoyed the other three, but there's also so much out there that Love Lies Bleeding was at the top of my list overall. That was my one trip to the movie theaters this week. But you know what? Even though there's like 5 things coming out this weekend, maybe I'll go try to see it.
I've seen number 1. I don't care to see the other 6. I mean, it's Kung Fu Panda. I love Jack Black, but just
eventually it'll make its way into your rotation just based on
I mean,
Gord's
we'll be
appetite.
getting in with Kung Fu Panda 7. That's when time we're going to start getting into it.
Hey, if it keeps making this amount of money, you're going to get a Kung Fu Panda
Oh, yeah,
7
they'll keep-
sooner rather than
They'll
later.
keep going.
How come they haven't done spinoffs yet?
They've done a few TV shows.
Yeah, they had a TV show.
Other characters, I mean, like
Oh. Well, the thing is, the other big characters in it are not in this one. I forgot what they called them, but the 5 people that were with him.
Furious 5.
Furious 5. That was the best Fast and Furious movie. But
it was okay.
the Furious 5, because it was Angelina Jolie, Seth Rogen, Jackie Chan, Lucy Liu.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman was he's
Shifu.
still in it, but I can't remember who the 5th one was. But anyway, there were 5 of them, and they all hit the brakes for this one, and I think Aquafina is his sidekick instead.
Oh, I can't stand her
Aquafina's
voice.
in every animated movie ever
She
now.
is.
Stand her voice. Can't. The
It
best
fits certain roles, but it doesn't need to be in everything.
one of the best female voices for cartoon characters, I think, is animated characters, is Wanda Sykes. She has the voice for a character. Have she done anything? I know she's had to have done some animated stuff. Just her voice is it's just so interesting. So as I always thought, every time I hear a comment, it's like, God, she'd be good in an animated feature.
What's tough for me is rewatching Mulan, where Eddie Murphy plays the dragon in there.
Yeah.
But Eddie Murphy also plays donkey from Shrek.
Yeah.
And that became so much more iconic. So when you go back in time and you watch Mulan, you're like, the donkey from Shrek. Oh, wait, this is before. Eddie
It's
Murphy
like
took on
the
that.
same thing as Chris Pratt. Like, hey, I'm Mario. And then there's, hey, it's Chris Pratt. Hey, I'm Garfield. And it's
Right.
like, whoa, that's the same thing as Mario.
Yep, and it's only going to get better. Hey, he keeps cashing those checks. I'm not too high on the Garfield trailer. We didn't do a full trailer reaction to that. We just talked about it, but I don't think any of us were sold on the first Garfield trailer.
No.
In a close second place this weekend, that would be Dune Part 2. It added $29 million, almost ended up in the number one spot, not on Luntz's list, but number one spot at the box office.
Which it would have been.
Which would have been an incredible feat. It's in a little over 3,800 venues across the country. Ticket sales only declined 37% from last weekend. That means it is holding strong. It is still capitalizing on having all those premium format screens. If you have not yet seen Dune Part 2 on a premium screen, this is really your last chance to do so this week.
Yep, Thursday it'll switch off.
Because Thursday you're going to have Ghostbusters take over those screens. So who knows? Maybe there'll be a little bit of a split, but I think it's going to be primarily Ghostbusters everywhere you look on those premium screens. So, Tyler, I know you want to see Dune Part 2 on a premium screen. Are you going to make an effort to get that done over the next 4 days?
Yes, I'll be doing it either tonight or tomorrow night. I was planning on doing it over the weekend, but so for the Prime theaters, they had 2 showings on Saturday and Sunday night. It was a 7:15 and an 11 o'clock.
Ooh, that's a commitment.
The 7:15 for both nights almost completely sold out. Like you had the seats up at the front row and maybe a couple edge seats, but other than that, it was packed house.
So Birmingham doing its part.
And, John, how many of those filled up seats are people who have already seen the movie but want to experience it again?
Oh, I'd imagine at least a third, if not half of those people are probably, hey, I'm going to go watch it because they didn't watch it on a big format to begin with, or they just liked it enough like Tyler, they want to go see it for a 10th time like you and Oppenheimer.
We've got Troy who says he's jacked for Ghostbusters. He's very excited there and also thought the Mario movie was well done. I liked the Mario movie too last year. It was one of my favorites of the year of 2023. And I think that Dune Part 2 maybe should have been considered for Luntz's list of highest grossing movies of the year overall. Did you consider putting it on there? Because right now it's at $500 million worldwide.
My number 5 was Godzilla, and it was that and Planet of the Apes. I was kind of going back and forth with, and with Dune kind of right below it, just because I feel like there's more general appeal for Godzilla and Planet of the Apes as opposed to a movie like Dune.
It will soon be at $500 million. The original Dune, in its entire gross, generated $433 million at the worldwide box office, and you're about to see Dune Part 2 surpass the entire gross of the first one. That's what you want this series to be, continuing to grow and grow and grow. And I'm telling you this, Dune Part 3, even though the source material, I think it's going to have to be adapted in a different way because it really goes off the beaten path if they're going to just stick with the narrative that's already laid out for them, that Dune Part 3 will open even bigger than Dune Part 2 did because of how successful this film has been. The trajectory for this series is only growing.
It is, and you got to remember the first one also did the same day release on HBO Max as well, so that hurt the box office overall for it. So I don't know that it necessarily would have exploded more than that if it had just been in theaters, but between the box office, between watching it on HBO Max when it first came out and then now watching it because it's on Hulu, it's on Netflix, it's on Max, it's on literally every streaming platform right now to kind of get ready for the second one, which is why the second one's doing better. I feel like that's only going to continue to grow for the third one.
Are they going to eventually go get gimmicky or something like that? Are they going to try to outdo the next one by casting up this time Dune 3 is Tom Hanks, Dune 4, where they have to throw some random Brad Pitt, where they're trying to get that huge influence of an A-list actor or something like that. Sometimes
they're
franchises
making A-list actors on this series. They're making new
Timothy
A-list
Chalamet
actors.
was an A-list before Dune.
He already was, but the biggest thing is one of the main
Elvis was already a big name before Dune.
Guys,
Timothy Chalamet was an A-lister before this.
No. His literal rate of what he costs now to be in a movie skyrocketed because of this and Wonka dominating at the same time. He's
been nominated for Oscars and everything. I mean, I don't know if I would have said that about Austin Butler, but I would have said it about Timothy Chalamet. He was already an A-lister. I'm not saying it's not elevating him, but he was already there.
No. You got to think of it from a marketing standpoint, though. He was not a proven draw until now.
Okay, I'll take that.
That's where we're at.
But people didn't go see Dune 2 because of Timothy Chalamet, right?
I would argue a lot of them did.
Well,
I would argue that he's getting paid now because he's an actual
I would argue people
draw.
did in the first one, too.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, is it more now? Sure, every movie he does adds more, but
Who do you think saw the first one more, for Timothée Chalamet or Zendaya? Zendaya, what do you say?
I'd say Zendaya.
Exactly.
Zendaya was the
Zendaya's
bigger star
name.
at that point.
She also was hardly in the movie.
Doesn't matter.
But-
she's in it.
I mean, we're
She was
talking
on.
semantics
She
was in
to a point.
all of the marketing material.
If you're talking
That's
on,
literally all she was in the movie, though.
if you're talking about pure talent, we agree. Yeah, he was an A-lister. But in terms of draw, he was not a proven A-lister
That's what I was
until
talking
the
about, was
past few months.
I'll agree with Tim.
Okay,
Case closed.
that's just like your opinion, man. But anyway, what were we talking about before we started that argument?
Tom Hanks in Dune 3.
No, so the thing is, without spoiling the movie, there's somebody who pops up that's basically already teased to be in the next one that I wouldn't say is A-list, but is getting there. That there's people you're going to have to draw. It's hard to say what they're going to do in the third movie without spoiling what it is, but there's people who you already know are a part of the franchise that will be a part of this, to where that will continue the ensemble cast draw.
Yes.
Even though obviously people die in these movies, you know, between the first and second one, these are the kind of movies just people die in. I'll stop there because I'm going to spoil it if I say any more.
Thank you.
I already
That's
did, probably.
Very refrained of you to do so. Restrained, I should say. Paul, and I hate it. The third movie that came in to the box office as highest grossing of the weekend, that would be Arthur the King. This is the Mark Wahlberg dog movie that
Arthur.
none of us said we were going to see. It came in less than expected at $7.5 million, a
very
little
good.
over 3,000 theaters. Well, it was produced for just $19 million overall.
Okay.
So this is going to be a movie that is inevitably profitable, and it's going to find an audience on streaming. And the audience reaction has been great to this. I think it's got like an A+ cinema score, and the critics have been a little bit tough on it, but it really is sort of a down-to-earth, straightforward story that audiences are connecting with. The word of mouth on it's going to be good. It's going to hold pretty well, I think, going in to this upcoming weekend. There's going to be a lot of options at the box office that it'll have to contend with, but this is a movie that sort of stands above the pack, I think, of trying to target a very specific audience, and I think it's going to end up becoming a movie that makes a lot of sense from the business perspective. It got an A grade on Cinema Score. Mark Wahlberg, what do you think about the way in which his career has shifted now? Because it seems like he's playing the low-risk, high-reward game with his career and the roles in which he's choosing to take on.
He has a certain type of role he's taking on now, and I think I guess he's been very public about, look, I'm going after a certain type of role over what I used to do. He's not as big a draw as he was, but you know, these are the kind of movies that cost a little under $20 million to make. So once you take into account everything in a couple of weeks, it'll ultimately get past that. But
he was very public about moving out of the state of California, moving into the state of Nevada, and really trying to build the film industry there in the Las Vegas area. And he's been trying to target family audiences with still some harder edged material, but not nearly as hard edged as what he's produced in the past.
You think Vegas would be pretty good for Dune with all the desert out there? They can go out there and shoot some scenes.
Hey, buddy, welcome to Dune. You in Dune? Aye. Weak walls.
Is that your Mark Wahlberg impression?
Yeah.
I thought that was like a Colin Farrell Irish impression.
It sounded like Colin Farrell.
It's Wahlberg from Fear.
Like Banshees
That
of
was his best
Inisherin.
role.
I
Fear.
loved Fear.
Yeah. You know where they kept switching me to facilities? Weak walls. I'd always bust out. Weak walls. Nicole
I'd love
forever.
to hear
getting
you do.
better.
I'd love to hear you do Mark Wahlberg from The Other Guys. I don't know why that's the first one that popped in my head.
I've seen the outtakes from it. I want to see it. Michael Keaton in that too.
Yeah,
I want to see
He's
that.
their boss. He's like the
captain.
Yeah.
the captain. But between him and Will Ferrell, and he's constantly complaining the entire movie. Mark Wahlberg is like, I don't know. I feel like it'd be hysterical hearing you do an impression of that, hearing that now.
Mark Wahlberg in The Departed. I keep bringing up The Departed on this show, but for some reason I'm in
one
a
of the best
departed
movies.
state of mind.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
Talk about per minute average of just stealing scenes. Mark Wahlberg in The Departed. It's way up there.
Yeah.
All right, fourth place. This one actually surprised me. I was actually very impressed by the hold that Imaginary had in fourth place, still ending up ahead of the movie y'all saw on Thursday Night, Love Lies Bleeding, which Tyler, I correctly predicted would make.
Nothing.
Correct, and it made almost nothing, but we'll
Now,
get
to
into
be
that in a
fair-
second.
okay.
We'll get into it in a second. Imaginary, a movie you guys saw a couple weeks ago, $5.5 million in fourth place, had less than a 50% drop, which is huge week to week. Chauncey continues to earn some money there. It's earned $19 million so far.
Maybe I shouldn't be your friend anymore, Chauncey.
It is.
That's literally what happened.
Slightly better impression than Rockstar's Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I'm offended by that.
Thank you.
$11 million to produce that movie, so it is definitely headed towards a positive finish here. And in fifth place, Angel Studios' faith-based biographical drama, Cabrini, rounding out the top five. Cabrini, something I'd never heard of.
I literally never heard of that until I just looked at the list right now.
Cabrini ended up finishing ahead of Love Lies Bleeding, which has gotten a huge marketing push. Why do audiences, John, not want to see Love Lies Bleeding, which finished in sixth place after expanding, adding 1,357 theaters this past weekend, finally hitting a big, widespread amount of theaters, and it made less than $2.5 million.
The average per theater was double Cabrini, higher than Imaginary. They only put it in 1,300 theaters as opposed to over 3,000 or 4,000 if you're doing.
But that number should be way, way higher, given the fact that this is basically a week one release.
No.
Yeah.
It's an A24 hard R, weird, goofy movie that never makes any money for what it is. For it to, I mean, per average theater, crush Cabrini and beat Imaginary. I mean, I would if you told me, I would have guessed third. I mean, it got beat by Arthur the King, which I honestly didn't know how that was going to do. And I saw a lot more marketing for it. I did not see a ton of previews for Love Lies Bleeding before movies.
I did.
Now, I actively sought it out to watch it, but I mean, almost no A24 movie.
The late night circuit was full of Kristen Stewart.
I never watch late night stuff.
I'm just saying, the conversation's been there. They were on the cover of Rolling Stone. I mean, it was the traditional media route. I know is one way to go.
You just can't take it at 2.5 and Cabrini at 2.8 and say, well, Cabrini won when
Cabrini did. That's literally how it works. The box office gives you a number, and it tells you who scores more points.
Per theater average, more people. It wasn't available for people to go see.
This is like, I had a friend one time that was trying to tell me why the Mavericks would lose in the 2011 NBA Finals, and they told me, well, Joel Anthony, the center for the Miami Heat, he's averaging more blocks per minute than any other player in the league. And I'm like, blocks per minute? He plays 5 minutes a game. It's like, exactly. And when he goes in, he just stuffs them. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
You should probably get more playing time.
You're making the blocks per minute argument here with Love Lies Bleeding, trying to shine this thing up a little bit more.
If I put a movie in 50 different places for people to go see, and they sell half out in each one, and I put the other movie in one place to go see, and it's packed to the rim, the 50 is still going to crush it, even though, boy, maybe I should have put that one that was packed to the rim in other places so people could actually see it.
How many people were in your showing? Just to be fair, I'm curious.
You killed my momentum there. I was going for the haymaker, and you killed it, Tyler.
Lemon shot.
This wasn't in
10 to 12, if I'd guess.
This wasn't in 50 theaters. It was in 1,357 theaters.
And all the others were in 3,000 plus.
So Love Lies Bleeding should expand, and it'll make more money this upcoming weekend. Got it. That's a lot.
If Love Lies Bleeding was in 3,000 theaters, it would have been bigger than Cabrini. It would have destroyed Cabrini. It would have beaten Imaginary.
You're literally making my teeth hurt. Which, by the way, if your teeth hurt,
oh god,
what you should do is go visit the team at Alabama Dental Associates. I love my dental team, and I'd love for my dentist to become your dentist. Located on Grants Mill Road, Alabama Dental Associates, led by Dr. Jeff and Dr. Brian, they work closely together as a team, utilizing specialized training necessary to prevent, diagnose, and treat whatever your dental condition may be. They stay current on the advances in research treatment so you know you're receiving the most advanced dental care possible. They helped me get back on track after putting off one too many appointments. They can help you do the same. I'm so happy I found Alabama Dental Associates. For more information or to make an appointment, you can call them today. 205-956-8977 or visit alabamadental.com. They look forward to seeing you.
Two things. One, if I only show my home movie in the parking lot down there, but it's so full people can't get in, I don't say it's a failure. Number two, Troy brings up per capita doesn't matter, only final total, yet I didn't answer this in the chat. I'm going to answer this on the show. Every single time I bring up Force Awakens destroying at the box office and making over $2 billion, well, that doesn't count. That's just because Disney pumped money into it. Exactly. Disney pumped money into it, and it made money, but you can't say, well, Rogue One was a better movie because per theater, I don't even know if that's true, But it's funny how it only works in certain situations for movies that you like.
Okay. Love Lies Bleeding,
Houdini.
$1,825 per average per theater.
Yes.
A movie called One Life, finishing in 8th, which stars Anthony Hopkins. $1,738 per theater.
Okay, it lost. The average. I mean, it
I
lost
know,
the average.
but they're comparable. They're very
Okay, well, you put a movie
close.
with Anthony Hopkins in 4,000 theaters, people are probably going to go see it.
But no one's saying that One Life made more money this weekend than One Love, the Bob Marley movie. Because what you look at is
you look at total box office, but you're saying it's a failure because it didn't win the total box office. It's not a failure. It's a winner for what A24 put into it.
I'm just not so certain that is the case. I think the per theater average should be much higher on Love Lies Bleeding with the amount of marketing in which they've done for this film. Tyler, I'm going to give you the final word on this, and then we'll move on, hopefully still as friends.
They should have put it in more theaters if they wanted to market it better.
I may go see it today just to bump up the theater average for you, John, so that way it can come in 7th next week. If it comes in 7th next week, that would actually be considered a success.
Also, it's already matched its budget, so
This thing's probably going to drop 10th. I don't know why you're so defensive of this.
You said it was a failure.
I'm wondering
It's
the
not a
same
failure.
thing.
It did not generate the type of money that it should have generated this weekend, expanding to a wide release. Last week, it was like in, 3-4 theaters? This time it goes much wider, and I just think it was a very underwhelming showing because it's behind a movie called Cabrini that, as of a couple of minutes ago, you didn't even know existed.
That's in over double the theater. So if any random person, what looks good tonight? Oh, that's a cool movie called Cabrini. Let's go see it.
That's how it works.
Cabrini's in the local one.
Guess
Just
what's
down
not
the
there?
street.
Guess what's not in half of these theaters they go
Sex,
to?
Lies, and
By the way,
Videotape.
Love Lies Bleeding.
Oh.
Cabrini, it's a 60% drop from what it was last week in it being
Which is why it
viewed.
made half as much per theater because nobody wanted to go see it.
I don't know why we care so much about this. I would
My
love to
stomach
move
hurts.
on. I'm sorry. Tyler, do you feel like mommy and daddy are fighting, or how do you feel over there in the corner of this production studio?
I mean, I don't understand why y'all are
Like the Paul's
fighting.
like, I gotta figure out what to say.
So,
I don't wanna
Love
fight.
Lies Bleeding. It was all right. I do think. So, what was the total for it? For
$2.5 million this weekend.
yeah, I would think an A24 movie would make more than that. But also, this
80%
is,
of A24 movies make less than that, by the way, when they come out. So
this one's a hard R and is very raunchy, so that can keep people out. And
which is why the theaters it was in did pretty well.
I just think this movie can't be polished up and picked as a winner right now when it's not producing the way in which you'd be led to believe by some people's narrative.
I mean,
that's all I'm saying.
If it's behind Cabrini, then I don't think you can call it a winner.
Let's move on to this and see if we can get back on the same page.
No.
Early reactions have come out.
Guess what was behind Cabrini this week? Movie that just won Best Picture last weekend, 2 weekends ago. Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was 14th this week.
It's a re-release.
It probably hasn't even left, if I had to guess. But hey, guess what the average per
It's in
theater?
and out.
Guess what the average per theater was for Oppenheimer?
$10.
That's close, $228. Sorry. Let's continue.
Christopher Nolan needs to hang it up.
I
You
mean,
think you've won something, but you've just played yourself into looking like a fool because
mathematically, I have won.
Oppenheimer has been re-released 7 times, and it's on Peacock for people who want to watch it at home
Okay.
and go through the
for
thing
them.
there.
I just want to know why John's personally offended
You
that
said it
Love
was a
Lies
failure.
Bleeding
It
didn't
was.
do that
It
as
was
well.
not a failure.
It was outside the top an outside the top 5 finish for a movie that's expanding
That's
and
in
has
2
a lot of
theaters,
buzz
doesn't
behind
count.
it is a failure. It's a failure.
Arthur the King, Imaginary Cabrini were on the same amount of theaters.
John, what do you want to talk about next?
Love Lies
You
Bleeding
pick.
was in less theaters and Bob Marley
You
had made
pick.
more money.
I don't care anymore. You pick. Anything but this. I may not go see it today just out of spite.
Go see Bob Marley. That was solid.
Well, it made less money, so it's not very good.
Can
apparently.
we please move on, hopefully, to a subject that will bring us back together? It's the next A24 movie that's coming out. That is Civil War. The early reactions have been coming in.
It better make $1 billion or it's not going to be a winner. Sorry, continue.
I never said that about Love Lies Bleeding.
Said it was a failure.
It was. It
Then it's not if you're a failure, you're not a winner.
What was
It
the budget on Love
underperformed.
Lies Bleeding?
$2.8 million. Guess what it's made so far? $2.8 million.
That's a failure. Game.
It just-
Even Stevens.
That's 1 week.
So,
I'm kidding. I
but
don't
how
care.
much did they spend after marketing?
Thank you, Tyler.
It's 1 week.
What I'm saying is this is the most money that Love
first
Lies
week
Bleeding
is the
will
biggest
make
week,
at the
man.
box office. Why do we keep going back
Don't they
to this?
typically expect to get out of the whole first week? Or at least close to it?
Hardly any movie's done that so far.
Richard, Luntz, let it go. You've lost this argument.
Yeah. I'm not gonna let it go.
Benjamin, cage match, next episode. Oh my gosh.
Small
It's gonna be a
cage.
table, ladder, and chair match.
Okay. Sorry, guys. This is our first big argument on the Meltdown. Sometimes that happens on a show, and we're going to try to heal our wounds and move on to Civil War, which is A24's next big movie.
Hey,
Perfect segue.
Hey, guess what? Dune only made half of its budget in the first week. Sorry. Continue. I'm just saying, I've killed literally every one of y'all's arguments, but we'll move on. I'm done. I'll stop.
What you're killing is your reputation. That's what you're killing.
Nope, y'all are wrong. I mean, it's the kids that are wrong, not me.
I don't understand, even though this was on your top 5 most anticipated movies of the year, why you're so personally affected by the per theater average of Love Lies Bleeding. Not even the guy in Detroit that got arrested with the Dune popcorn bucket feels this passionately,
I don't know.
and he was pretty passionate.
You want to call him and see what?
I don't want to see what he has. This call is from a federal prison. Okay. It's a next round joke. Let's get into a movie I've tried to transition to 14
Have you
times.
seen this thing about Civil War?
Civil War. Early reactions are coming in.
Do you know Ron Swanson's the president?
John, we've talked about this movie's going to have a really tough time making people not hate it without having seen it, like me with Love Lies Bleeding. But my question
Because
is,
they're all A24.
can Civil War be a movie that is successful in the theatrical distribution system? I think people will have their interest piqued enough to want to sample it, but will they wait for streaming, or will they actually go to the theater and buy a ticket? This is what Deadline had to say about it. Ultimately, Civil War feels like a missed opportunity. In its attempt to navigate the complexities of war, journalism, and the human condition, the film finds itself caught in the crossfire, unable to deliver the profound impact it aspires to achieve. What I have heard about this film is that if you're looking, and we've talked about these type of movies before, if you're looking for things that go boom, if you're looking for good gunfights, if you're looking for visceral action, this is a movie that delivers. If you're looking for deeper meaning, messaging, geopolitical commentary, if you're looking for a deep story structure, then you may leave very underwhelmed. And that is what I have seen from the early reviews. John, you're very excited about this movie coming out.
Yes.
Are you able to go in and just enjoy it for what it is, or do you need something deeper with Civil War?
Well, there's 3 characters that come before it that make you automatically assume it's going to be a deeper movie. A24. So, like Love Lies Bleeding, I expected it to be a deeper movie. It's just the only other thing that's come out this year so far. But like I would expect anything I see.
Shaking like a leaf here.
It's the only thing I would expect. I mean, Problemista is a movie I want to see. It comes out or expands this weekend, I think. It's an A24 movie. I expect the same thing from it. So, now, on the other side of that coin, if they get too deep into it, it's when you start making people mad, too, as opposed to just making it an action movie. Alex Garland has only done make you think kind of movies so far, because while Ex Machina was really basically that. I mean, it had a little action at the end. Annihilation brought a little more action, but still ultimately was like a thinker more so than like an action movie.
Definitely more of a thinker.
And Men was more horror, but still tried to bring the thinking aspect to it. And that's all he's done so far movie-wise. So I expect that from him. I expect that from A24. But just watching the trailers, I expect only to know, hey, what is the conflict? Like what led to the Civil War? Now let it play out. And when you watch a World War II movie, you know what led to it. You just want to watch it play out on the battlefield. So ultimately, that's all I'm expecting from the movie. But when it's A24, there is that little bit extra. It's like, is this going to be a good A24 movie? Where is this going to rank? If I rank all my top A24 movies, they're all deep movies to where it's like, I love that pretentious A24. The minute it comes up, this is going to be a pretentious movie. All right, let's watch it. Then I don't know that this is necessarily going to deliver. So it's going to be hard to separate that.
There's no doubt that you are a big fan of A24, and it is probably the distribution company that right now you have the most support behind, and I understand that. And I'm rooting for Civil War to be good, but the trailers kind of give away that this is not going to be a thinker. I mean, the trailers kind of give away when California and Texas are on the same team. You can kind of piece together there's not going to be a lot of social commentary that adds up to our real world climate right now. That's not what we're going to be seeing in this film.
You also can't have a current Civil War without making people, or without having social commentary. Yeah. Not that it's deep how you get into the Civil War necessarily, but I mean, everything I've read has said, look, it delivers in a lot of different ways, but boy, people are going to be disappointed with certain aspects of it, or boy, you're going to walk away thinking controversy with this. It's what we expected when we first saw the trailer, but it may not be a thinker, but all you got to do is say one wrong thing and everybody loses their mind.
You agree with me, I think, and this may get much deeper than Love Lies Bleeding here.
Oh, God.
But that journalism is not purely good. That there are bad actors within that field, like there are bad actors in every field.
I agree.
If this is a movie that sort of whitewashes journalism and says that they're the heroes and the saviors and that they've caused no problems and there's not a bad apple in the bunch and there's nobody pulling the strings trying to rise tension between groups that disagree with each other politically, if they do that in this film, I am going to be nauseated to a point of not being able to forgive it. It cannot come out and make journalists look like they have no blood on their hands whatsoever in leading to this conflict. And I hope you'll agree with me on that.
I don't think that it will, just from the little bit that we've seen. It seems more like, as a journalist, you're either A, not let in to fully be able to report on anything, or B, you are so lost that you kind of back off. And it's like, I honestly don't know what to do with this. Like, it seems like they're trying so hard to get in, and when husband and wife with Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, when that scene happens in the trailer, which is very short, but it kind of seems like, hey, no, we're just trying to just tell the story here. And it's like, well, what kind of story are you trying to tell? And then they stop. That's where I could see it take a lot of different directions. A lot of them good, a lot of them bad, but I could see at that point, that's where the split happens that they're not showing to people. And that's where people then get either mad from a political standpoint, from a just general standpoint, from a journalism standpoint, whatever it may be.
And I don't feel like all of journalism is bad before every headline runs with that, but I believe that not all journalism is good, and there are manipulators amongst us who try to position people against one another for financial gain, and I want to see that aspect of this story explored, because the only way this country gets to that level of pure hatred of one another to where we reach a breaking point is it's going to take some sort of messenger that helps spark the fuse of the fire. Tyler, anything on this subject real quick before we move on?
Yeah, so I agree with you guys. I think if they whitewash journalism, that'll be a really bad look for this movie, especially when the trailer, you have Kirsten Dunst's character saying, like, every time I went over there and took the pictures to send back home, I was sending a message home not to do this.
Right.
So I'm hoping they don't, like, build her up into almost a saint-like hero figure, and they have it where she's got her own interests, and there's not really a good guy in the
Although
story.
I do think a lot of that is, hey, when I covered like in Iraq or Afghanistan, that was something that then now, hey, I'm here. It's all happening here. How the heck do I talk about it here, as opposed to this is what I think of what's happening here? Because I think the whole thing is she's like has that history, and then it's like, oh crap, I got to do it in America now.
We will have to see how that plays out with Civil War, which opens up. What's the release date on that? Do you have it for me real quick here?
It is April 12th.
April 12th. So it's right around the corner. Yeah, I've got it right here. So April 12th, looking forward to seeing how that one at least handles its subject matter. There is a movie that it reminds me of very much. And Tyler, I don't know if you get the same flavor. I think, John, we've already talked about this off air and you get the same flavor. But The Purge, it feels very much like a Purge movie. If there was a Purge sequel and you were just to show somebody some footage from this, it would blend right in there. Well, The Purge is coming back to theaters near you. The Hollywood Reporter published an article on Blumhouse putting some of its library titles back into theaters in partnership with AMC. AMC's website says, feast your eyes on 5 nights of horror. Say hello to horror with Blumhouse's Halfway to Halloween series. Watch a different genre-defining classic and receive a mystery gift with purchase for $8 plus tax every night the week of March 29th through April 2nd. So if you are a fan of the Blumhouse movies, you can go and you receive a mystery gift with a purchase. There's one stinker about all of this, and that is that I don't think it's happening in Birmingham. I couldn't find any tickets for sale in Birmingham for Halfway to Halloween. But they're hosting a 5-day Halfway to Halloween Fest in more than 40 cities and in 100 of its locations this spring, with tickets going for $8. The lineup includes Split, The Purge, Ouija, Origin of Evil, Insidious, and The Invisible Man.
All the ones you could pull, Ouija is the one.
What's the Origin of Evil, though?
Yeah.
It's not just Ouija.
All the other 4, I can't.
I didn't want to say it.
Not the strongest lineup there.
I didn't even want to say it, but The Purge is part of that.
Why did you not put Halloween? Isn't Halloween a Blumhouse movie? The new ones?
It is, but maybe they're saving that to see how well this goes the first time around. But not the strongest
There's a lot
lineup.
of Blumhouse stuff you could put there instead.
However, Insidious releases on its 13th anniversary, so I think that's a nice thing.
Yeah, I'm fine with the rest of the other 4.
And it holds up. If I was going to see one of these, it would be Insidious in theaters again. If I had to pick one of the bunch. The first Purge is really not as good as a lot of the other entries in the series, I feel like.
When you said the first Purge, I just thought
the movie,
Purge.
the first
Sorry,
Purge.
but I know. The Purge that happened with Ethan
It's
Hawke.
the original Purge they're putting back in.
The original Purge, yes, sorry.
Which is the
I feel
only
like you're just trying to win an argument from earlier.
No. I didn't care about really any of those, but probably the first one was the best one to me.
Jason Blum said, quote, "We wanted to celebrate local communities of horror fans throughout the country with a fun, affordable, and slightly evil night at the movies. We're grateful to our partners at AMC for helping us bring this idea to life." John, do you like seeing re-releases in the theaters these days? Because I love it. I think it keeps people going there. I think it makes it a fun event. They're cheaper prices. They get people back in who maybe haven't been in a long time. They know what they're getting. They get it in the best possible setup. I like the theater re-releases.
I hardly ever go see them, but I honestly don't ever care unless it's a massive movie or like a beloved movie. So like now re-releasing, hey, in honor of the Oscars, we're re-releasing Oppenheimer plus the last 5 Best Picture winners or something like that. Or when they re-release Titanic or like they're about to do with Episode 1, stuff like that. All of these movies, I mean, none of them big giant movies, although they're all decently well known. I know The Purge became a thing and split with all of M. Night Shyamalan's with making it an Unbreakable trilogy, all that. But overall, like, I don't care about any of these. I don't care about any Blumhouse movie to go see it in theaters again, except I didn't see Black Klansman or Whiplash in theater, so I would like to go see those. Outside of that, I honestly don't care about any of them.
We have a lot of your chat reaction coming in. We have Brock who says, "Do you think the U.S. needs a Purge night?" No, I do not. You have Richard who says,
Go watch Civil War and we'll see.
Insidious was a great movie because it was original, but that's a horrible lineup. It's not a great lineup for this first halfway to Halloween Fest. I don't know. And then you have Benjamin who says, "I'd see a re-release in a dollar theater if those still exist." I was thinking about the dollar theater this weekend. I missed that dollar theater. Did you ever go to the dollar theater there? It was on Lorna Road.
Is it not still there?
Well, it used to be down the road here at the Colonnade, and then it moved to Lorna Road.
No, it hadn't been there in years. The pandemic took it out.
I was an employee there before it became the Dollar Theater. That was one of my first jobs. Or not first jobs. My God, I was like 21, 22 years old.
That used to be my go-to theater back in the day.
Yeah, I used to clean that theater.
Did you like that job?
It was all right. Well, for that age, you get, as much soda and popcorn as you want. But this is also, it's like a 16-year-old dream. You got access to movies, but I remember when I worked there, Beautiful Mind had just come out, and the projector broke, and we had a lot of pissed off people, like a lot of people demanding free popcorn. I don't know what that means, that the projector broke. So
they just sit there in an empty theater.
And that's actually how I got it.
Popcorn.
And that's actually how I got into Lord of the Rings, because the Fellowship of the Ring came out, and every 30 minutes, one of the employees is to come into one of the theaters and check off like everything's all right, and you have to initial it. And I remember walking into the Fellowship of the Ring, and it was the part where Bilbo gets the ring and disappears at his birthday party or whatever. And I kind of like stuck there, and I watched like 10 minutes of it going, I'm kind of interested in this. And I remember I came back the next day on my off day and I watched it. So I was like, this is a damn good movie. And I had no idea that it was it was a trilogy. And like at the end, it's like, that's the end?
They didn't destroy the ring.
They're just going on a hike. But yeah, so I worked there for probably a solid year. I got to wear a vest and a bow. What's funny?
I love the theater
I wore a vest and a bow tie. And I was the best we had the popcorn machine in the back. You didn't have it in the front. I could do that all day by myself, just making batches. And you had those huge clear garbage bags that you would transfer them to the actual.
We need to get a popcorn machine here and have Rockstar.
I would butter that bad boy in salt. You're supposed to like do one little thing of salt, one little thing of butter. My ass would like, and then put like tons of salt in it.
Your butter pump impression better than your Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
My kernels were pure.
I just love the doing popcorn bucket sitting right next to you as you're doing your butter impression.
But yeah, I worked there for a while.
Can you yell "Koosh" again?
Koosh. It's a situation with the Koosh.
I can't.
Meadows got a thing with the Koosh.
It's almost like Joe Pesci Goodfellas right there.
It's a little bit of I can't do good.
Okay, it's getting worse. Okay, there's a lot of that. I do have to ask one more question about your tenure there at the movie theater.
Sure.
Was that something you left on your own, or were you fired? If you don't mind,
I left on my. Well, I was making $6.20 an hour, and then I got into the next job I had was radio.
So you said if I want to make the big bucks,
Yeah, because
I got to go to radio.
But no, that was more of a night job, like weekend job. And then I remember I stopped because we had a bad manager or whatever. He, during the day, if you're doing the afternoon shift, like on a Tuesday when you have like 10 people come to the theater all day, he'd make us go pick up cigarette butts in the parking lot. And I was just like, and try to clean bathrooms. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So sometimes people would have big accidents in the bathroom. I'm not doing that. So for $6.20 an hour in a bow tie and a vest.
I can only imagine how that looks, but
yeah. So, but it was a fun experience.
we got to get you back on your popcorn game up here.
I love popcorn.
All right, I'm ready to
That's
get to Luntz's list as we speak about movies. There's one listing agent that you need to know about. That's our friend, our realtor, Jim Wilson with Location Real Estate. And he's still active with the U.S. military. He's able to help you secure the American dream of finding your perfect home. Jim cares deeply about making sure you're completely taken care of during the biggest purchase or sale of your life. Jim is only happy when you're completely happy. Each of Jim Wilson's clients has his full attention and devotion to accomplish their goals, not only during the home buying or selling experience, but every day after. He's an advocate for you, not some corporation. Whether you're buying or selling, contact our friend, Realtor Jim Wilson with Location Real Estate at 205-329-4758, or you can visit his website to see all of his listings there at jimwilson.locationre.com. We appreciate Jim and his support of the show. If you look ahead, pardon me, it's that lemon. Let me take a squirt of lemon juice here.
I think the lemon juice is the one thing doing it to you. Like, I don't know why. When I drink any kind of fruity thing, it gets kind of gunked up in my throat. I don't know.
I'm good.
Lingers.
If you look ahead, I did that
good.
one on purpose. If you look ahead at big movies and you look ahead at big film franchises, it doesn't get much bigger than that of James Bond. There's an all-time iconic role that remains up in the air, and that is the one. Who will be the next agent with a license to kill? From number 5 to number 00, it's time to count down. The best options post-Daniel Craig. Lunsford will now be sharing his personal expertise with us on this James Bond casting edition of Luntz's List.
What is this? What is this? What's his list? What is this? Oh, oh. What is this? What is this? What's his list? What's his list? Oh, oh. What is this? What is this? Long is this to buy? 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 Long is this to buy?
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's got a much harder rock edge to it.
Told you it was
for sure.
Ramones.
It's very intense. John, it's time to name the 5 actors you'd most like to see on the short list to play James Bond next.
Now, let me preface this by saying this is my list. I know y'all hate my list, and we've already got an argument today.
We don't just hate your list, we hate your opinions.
Who starred in that Love Lies
This
Bleeding?
is my opinion. Tim started it.
Who stars in it?
Oh,
No one knows because it didn't make money.
Kristen Stewart. Okay, so anyway, let me say this first one. This is my, hey, I'd honestly kind of like it. It'd be a ticket seller. If you want to move tickets, you know, this is number 5. Anyway, moving on. All right.
So this is the box office draw.
Vin Diesel.
Timothy Chalamet,
And he's playing Bob Dylan. Vin Diesel.
he is playing Bob Dylan. Who else would be a massive James Bond draw?
Jason Statham.
I hope he doesn't go with
The Rock.
Harry
What?
Styles. My gosh.
Is he gonna wear a dress?
That's unfortunately that was the first thing in my head when I was seeing that written up
mine
there.
too.
John, make the case here for
Was she
why.
gonna play Jane Bond?
Why? Why should Harry Styles, before the show gets canceled, why should Harry Styles be featured as a shortlist contender for James Bond?
So once again, this is, you know, how like when you're a GM of a team, you bring in some old name or some younger guy who was supposed to be a big name but hadn't quite worked out yet, and you try to sell tickets. This is something that gets a new audience for James Bond, which I feel like is an older crowd typically, in the same way that having Taylor Swift somewhere brings in tickets. I don't think he's a bad actor. He hasn't done a ton yet. He was in Dunkirk. He was in, for a hot second, Eternals at the end. And I don't know if he'll be a part of the broader MCU picture or not. It's kind of a bad tease if they do that and don't use him. He plays Thanos' brother and was also in Don't Worry, Darling, which he was not bad in. biggest thing I hated about that was not the actors in it. It was the story that I hated in that. He still has work to go. He's 30. One of the biggest things I had to look at with this is age, because you have to look at Daniel Craig was 38, I believe, with Casino Royale. So you have to look at who can you build a franchise with. So there's a lot of names that might make some people's list that's like, they're too old or they're too young. I feel like he's right at the age that if you started the process now, you can ultimately build a franchise with him if it went well. But he's still a little green when it comes to acting. But obviously he's a big name worldwide.
I think the Harry Styles movie that I have seen the most of is Dunkirk, which I thought he was very, very good in. He showed up in Eternals for a hot minute, but literally just a hot minute. And I don't think there's going to be an Eternals 2. I think Bob Iger has shelved that project.
Yep. But it's hard to be Thanos' brother and not be a part of something.
I did not see Don't Worry, Darling.
It's worth one watch.
But I'm sure he was good in it. I've had way too much lemon juice. And
sounds like a personal problem.
Harry Styles is someone that I give you credit for thinking outside the box, because I don't think a lot of people are thinking Harry Styles. So
that's why he's number 5.
No,
I mean, that's fair. If you look, you kind of want to have a young Bond. I mean, he's supposed to be, kind of a ladies' man. I mean, Harry Styles plays that well. I mean, I think
I'm going to throw out a name that I don't think will be on Lunce's list, but if it is, don't spoil it till we get there. But this is a name I've always been excited about to pick up the James Bond role after Daniel Craig. That's Idris Elba. I've always wanted Idris Elba. I think Idris Elba is perfect for that role. Will it be a divisive casting choice? Of course it will. Anybody who's ever cast as Bond, even Daniel Craig, who's now heralded as one of the best, if not the best, is going to draw criticism from internet fandom. But Idris Elba would have been my choice. But I do think, John, that younger is a stronger choice, because you need 3, 4, 5 movies out of whoever is chosen, and I don't think you're going to get that out of Idris Elba.
I did not include him because of that. But
only because of that, right?
Mostly because of that. Now, would he have been my number 1? No. But would he have been on the list if he was 33? Probably so. I mean, I like Idris Elba overall, but you just can't build a franchise around somebody like that. So anyway, moving on to number 4.
While you do this, Jody's released a list of the 5 actors who will not play James Bond.
Honestly, I kind of like to see a lot of those play James Bond now.
Number 5, Paul Giamatti. See if you can do an impression on each one. Can't do a Paul Giamatti?
I can't do a Paul because it would be embarrassing.
Number 4, Danny Trejo.
Machete. I can't do.
Number 3, Adam Sandler.
I'm a James Bond.
That was good. Shut up!
Yeah.
Number 2, Jackie Earl Haley. Can't do an impression, Jackie Earl Haley.
Nothing.
Number 1, Steve Buscemi. Constant collaborator with Adam Sandler.
It's a visual impression.
It is. It is. That was
good.
Though.
I was going to say reggae, Gene Page.
Do you even know who that is?
No.
John, I don't know who this person is either.
Was he in Austin and Kate or whatever?
Actually,
who is this?
I don't think you've seen anything that he's ever done. So, Regé-Jean Page is best known for being one of the main characters in Bridgerton. He is British.
My wife loves Bridgerton.
He came more on my radar with Dungeons and Dragons. He was in the Dungeons and Dragons that just came out with Chris Pine. Was pretty good in that. He's somebody that's still a little green too, but he's British. He's 35. I think he could be a good fit. He's a name that I feel like has been thrown around a little bit from just a British perspective. Hey, who are good British actors? Hey, this is a guy that's kind of up and coming. He's on that same level with a lot of people that, have that one-hit TV show, and it's like, hey, let's put him in everything. So I don't know ultimately if he could be a good long-term fit, but you see his picture right there. He, I think, could play the role of what you think of James Bond very well. And so if you don't go with Idris Elba, you want to go a little younger, I think this is a good younger option.
I took my wife to see Skyfall. It was the day of Johnny Manziel beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa, because I went to go work that event, and then took my wife to go see Skyfall that night. I remember that day very clearly. And she has not really wanted to see any Bond movie since then. She didn't really probably want to see that Bond movie. If this guy was cast as James Bond,
he's the main guy in the
she'd be
first
there
season.
Opening weekend, because she loves Bridgerton that much.
I think he backed out of the second season because he was moving on to actually start doing stuff.
People were upset.
Yeah.
Including my wife.
But anyway, he was good in Dungeons and Dragons. I know you still haven't seen that one, but it's still one I think should be on your radar to watch.
Okay, let's go with number 3. So far, I'm giving you credit for creativity. You're not just mailing this in. You are not. That is one thing I love about Lunce's list. He never just mails it in. The list may be awful, like the best, most badass vehicles in the history of cinema. That may be the worst list I've seen. I mean, there's still people that are having to attend therapy because of that list.
Yeah, you'd be really phoning it in, calling the DeLorean a good car.
It was number? It was number 6 on Luntz's list, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
not even in the top 5.
Oh my gosh, that was a brutal one. But we're getting back on track here.
Jacob Elordi.
Jacob Elordi for number 3. I don't know if I like
Interesting
this pick. It's an outside the box again pick.
Now, he's not British.
No.
Which is probably where it stops when people have this conversation. He's Australian, but he has played British. He just played British in Saltburn. He played Elvis last year. They're not quite as good.
In Priscilla.
Austin Butler is somebody who, like, if Austin Butler was British, I could 100% see that. But he's not British, and I feel like it's going to end right there with him. So he's obviously not going to make the list. But he really got to start with The Kissing Booth on Netflix in actuality. But then Euphoria is the thing that kind of put him mainstream. Plays the main guy in Euphoria. Like I said, Elvis was in Saltburn. I thought he was pretty good in Saltburn. He's about to be Frankenstein's monster in the new Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein, to where I need to put this picture up. Sorry. But I think he's somebody that just look-wise could be Bond. His biggest problem to me is he's only 26. I feel like he got to be a little older. Now, by the time you actually book him, shoot the movie comes out, I mean, he could be 4 or 5 years down the line. Who knows? But I think he could be a decent fit.
Okay.
And he's growing on me. The more I watch him, just off Euphoria, I was like, I mean, he's fine, Euphoria. I don't know. Like I would have said with Sydney Sweeney, like I would have said with a lot of different people. But he's growing on me.
Let me see if this is a backhanded compliment to your choice. You tell me.
Okay.
You tell me. Our communication styles are different. You tell me. I like Jacob Elordi, but I like him so much that I don't want to see him tied up into the Bond franchise for multiple movies. I'd rather him go do weird things like Saltburn and other movies than just be James Bond. I don't like the pick only because I don't want to see him tied down to this role.
I don't know if I'll take that as a compliment only because I said the exact same thing to my wife about a person. I said the exact same thing to my wife about Robert Pattinson. I said I like him so much as Batman. I like him so much in literally anything else he does that I don't want him to be tied down to Bond because once you become Bond, not that you can't do other things, but you're pretty much Bond.
You get a little taste of Robert Pattinson as Bond in the movie Tenet. You get a little bit of that, and it was good.
Yeah,
but you're right. I want to stick to.
You can't
Batman.
be Bond and Batman at the same time, so he's Batman.
Let's move on to number 2 on Luntz's list. So far, this list skewing very young, which is fine, and we're gonna.
Yeah, Harry Styles 30, Reggie John Page 35. Jacob Elordi, 26.
John, get us back to the camera on the list here because I think people want to be able to see what you're writing.
All right. This is the one you're going to laugh at.
Oh, gosh. Who do you think it is? Peter Dinklage?
He would be great.
Yeah, that would be an interesting.
I'll be honest.
Bond
I'd like to
movie.
see Peter Dinklage in a Bond movie, but playing the villain, obviously. I would love to see that.
What would his name be?
Yeah,
that's right.
That would be his name.
Please don't say anything.
Number 2, Will Poulter.
I am.
Now-
I know one of these names.
Nobody. I don't think anybody on the planet has made the transition from awkward American nerd to suave, hot British guy better than Will Poulter has.
Now, Will Poulter, he was in, was it We're the Millers?
The Millers.
Okay. Yeah, he definitely made a transition.
He is not Kenny anymore from We're the Millers. And the biggest thing that sold me on this was he was on the last season of The Bear. And he plays a pastry chef. There's one episode that, every show has that one episode, like mid-season, where they completely break away from the main story. That was this episode. They sent the pastry chef off to, I want to say it was like Denmark or something. But anyway, Will Poulter was the one that played that. And he has made this total transition. Now, Marvel is the biggest reason he's made this transition because he was in the Last Guardians movie. And he was built like a superhero. He's slowly shifting into what I would expect James Bond to be. Now, I look at his face, I still see Kenny from We're the Millers. But you got to get past that as an actor, and I think he would actually be a really good choice. He's 31, so by the time you get to something, he'd be mid-30s. It'd be a perfect place to start off. And I think overall, he's proven to be a pretty good actor on top of his just being goofy in We're the Millers.
This is the first time on this list where I think you have spotted a perfect Bond villain, but not Bond himself. And I think Will Poulter is a perfect Bond villain. If you were to tell me Will Poulter was the first Bond villain in the new Christopher Nolan trilogy, I would be all about it. But I don't like Will Poulter as Bond. I'm not sold on that. But I would like for him to be a part of the cast, or maybe even he could play, some sort of member of the team.
He could be the new Q.
He could be.
If they want to go young with Q again.
Be the new Q. All right. I think they'll go old in Q this time. They have to reverse back.
I think so.
Let's go with number 1 on Luntz's list. The choice, in your opinion, to play Bond after you get through a couple of honorable mentions from what I can tell you're bringing.
Well, no, I was just going to say this has been my number 1 since before Daniel Craig ever went away.
Oh.
That it's like, okay, you know what? You started having that conversation before the last movie.
There's only one name I don't want to see on this list. There's only one name.
This may be it. I don't know.
There's only one name that I do not want to see on this list.
Okay, my honorable mentions. See if this knocks it out. My number 6 was Henry Golding. He is 37. He was the main character in Crazy Rich Asians. He's British. He's been in a lot of Guy Ritchie. He was in The Gentleman. He's in that new movie coming out, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, whatever.
You're talking about the movie The Gentleman, not the TV show
right,
The Gentleman.
the movie The Gentleman, the original one. He's pretty good. I don't have a picture of him, but he's pretty good. I thought about, I won't say this one because this will give away who my number 1 is. I kind of thought about Kingsley Ben-Adir, the one that played Bob Marley. He doesn't have the look. I don't feel he's British. He's 38, so he's right around that age, but he's starting to become a much bigger star. But once again, Bond will probably tie him down. He probably don't want to do that. I thought about somebody like an Andrew Garfield, who I think is an incredible actor, but is too tied into Spider-Man and is too big now and is too old. He's 40. I thought about Riz Ahmed, who I thought it's an off-the-wall take on Bond, but he's also too old. He's actually the oldest person on the list at 41. He looks like a little kid, but he's a very good actor. He's done action. He's done a lot of stuff. I know you like him and stuff too.
I'll be honest, a couple of these names I missed because I keep staring at Will Poulter, and I'm thinking about Will Poulter as
I'm sorry,
part
you could
of
have told me to take the picture off.
No, it's not your fault. It's Will Poulter's fault.
It is my fault. I didn't.
It's Will Poulter's fault.
But anyway, Henry Golding, Kingsley Ben-Adir, Andrew Garfield, Riz Ahmed.
Got it.
Who were my honorable mentions. I looked up some other lists after I did mine to see, like, hey, am I on the right track? Are these people actually being considered? And my number 1 is somebody who pops up on a lot of these lists, but Dev Patel kept popping up on a lot of those lists. And once again, he's British. I get it, but Monkey Man has to slay.
Has to.
For him to, because look, if Monkey Man is a really good movie, then it's like, you know, Bond's not as John Wick, but like,
give me Dev
kind
Patel as Q. I'll take that any day of the week.
That'd actually be pretty good too. Kind of play his newsroom role a little bit.
All right. Number 1 on Luntz's list, the actor that John has been eyeing for James Bond for years now. It's not Idris Elba. We know that. We've had that discussion. I beg that it's not the one name that I did not want to see. Oh my gosh, please, no.
I honestly don't know.
Stallone.
I can't
I
see
still
anything.
can't read it.
This is where the
Something
anticipation comes in.
Madden. Richard Madden.
Okay, I don't hate this choice. This is not the name that I was worried about. I was worried about Henry Cavill. I don't want to see Henry Cavill as Bond.
He can't.
That
We already
ship has
saw
sailed.
Argyle.
We saw Argyle.
I don't think he's bad, but he's ruined for being a role like
we
this.
saw Mission Impossible, and he was great in that movie, but no Bond.
He's a good bad guy, second bad guy in a movie. I feel like not the bad guy, but like, I mean, I guess kind of like he was in Mission Impossible, like that second guy that you think is it, but really so-and-so's in charge of it, but he's kind of the muscle almost.
Henry Cavill was almost cast in the Daniel Craig role. I mean, he was that close to getting that. And anyway, Richard Madden, I still think maybe Richard Madden has maybe aged out of the role a little bit.
He's 37 right now.
I don't know if I'm on board with the age thing.
He's been my number 1 since well before Daniel Craig went away. He's best known for being Robb Stark on Game of Thrones, also in Eternals, also one of the main characters in Eternals as well. And I've thought this. He did a show called Bodyguard that I don't think it was Netflix originally. I think it was like Channel 4 or something like that in England. But it was called Bodyguard, and he played like a British police sergeant in it, and he was in charge of protecting the Secretary of State. They end up falling in love, and this whole craziness, takes off after that. He's on a show called Citadel now on Prime. I've seen the trailer for it. It's more Mission Impossible-y. It's him and Priyanka Chopra. They're the two main people in that. It's actually one of the most expensive TV shows ever done, so I hope it's good. The Russo brothers did it. But I think he is the perfect Bond. If anybody you can pick out there right now, you got to go now or he's going to get too old where you can't build a franchise around him. But ever since Robb Stark, ever since Bodyguard, I think he's an incredible choice for Bond. I guess I should put his picture up. I keep forgetting that.
I guess technically 3 out of these 5 choices are all a part of the MCU now.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 5.
Yep.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the other 2 pop up at some point.
It could happen. I'm going to throw out a name that I want people to look at. And I don't know, maybe you looked at this name. Theo James. Did you look at Theo James?
It's just because you watched The Gentleman this weekend.
I did watch The Gentleman this weekend.
Theo James has been awful for me until White Lotus, and I haven't watched The Gentleman yet. But Theo James was so cringy in the Divergent movies, and White Lotus was like, you know what? He's not bad. I've already forgotten where the button is. Okay. It's like, you know what? He's not bad. After watching that, Theo James does not necessarily do it for me. I mean, White Lotus is not an action show. It had a little Bondish from like you're in Europe and trying to be suave with ladies and stuff like that, but that's an absolute no from me.
I want to do a joke here. Can you take the red marker that you have there, and can you write a line through Richard Madden? I'm going to make a joke. I know this is Lunce's list, and it's a very... The Lannisters send their regards. There we go. What did you think of that? Did you like that?
I never saw Game of Thrones, but it sounds stupid.
See, Rob Stark, he dies in this thing called The Red Wedding, where
He's
they
Tony's
murder like
brother.
half the staff or half the cast.
I thought that would be funny. And
Everybody's like, why did you like Richard Madden? No, he was my number one choice.
I thought it was very funny. But no, I've been watching The Gentleman based on recommendations on Netflix, and it's been good. And I like Theo James in it. And I'm looking at him, and I'm going, this guy could be as good a Bond as anybody. I mean, he's really good.
I have not watched it. And Troy said the movie may be his all-time favorite. Not the movie. He was not in the movie. He's in the TV show version that just did for
Netflix.
Came
out March 7th.
And I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. But no, he has not done it for me until White Lotus. And even still, it's like, if I'm picking somebody to build my entire franchise around, he has a long way to go before I'm ever going to pick him.
Well, it will be a huge announcement when it happens, and it will be a polarizing one because all of these announcements always are. But will anyone from Lunce's list end up in the race for the next James Bond casting? And
more likely a giant star or absolute no-name.
Could be an absolute no-name, but
I would lean that way.
Right now, Theo James is someone I'm interested in. It depends on what type of vibe they're going for with the character. The one person that's been rumored for a long time now is Aaron Taylor Johnson.
That's an absolute no for me there, too. And Nicholas Hoult, who I've seen a bunch.
I would not want that either.
Nicholas Hoult, he's tied down now as Lex Luthor. I don't think he's going to be a part of that, even though I would like to see him once again as a Bond villain, not necessarily Bond himself. But Aaron Taylor Johnson right now looks like the clubhouse leader of getting the role. And a lot of it is based on what we saw in Bullet Train, if you saw that movie. And
I still got to watch that.
But to think Kick-Ass could become James Bond is kind of like a crazy thing that I can't wrap my head around.
To think Kenny from We're the Millers could be James Bond.
Yeah.
To go from Kick-Ass to Quicksilver in the MCU very briefly.
To Godzilla.
To Godzilla,
Wasn't
yeah.
that character in the first Godzilla?
He was.
Rockstar, better series, James Bond or Austin Powers? Which one do you have more enjoyment out
James
of?
Bond, because of Austin Powers, I want like because Dr. Evil and Fat Bastard. I wasn't a big actual Austin Powers character fan, but the villains are the best part of that series. Goldmember was I actually enjoyed Goldmember.
To be fair, everybody wanted to play his Oddjob in GoldenEye. Everybody likes the villains in that
That's
too.
because he was shorter and you couldn't hit him. It wasn't fair.
I know you've heard the comparisons a lot to Seth Green, but Seth Green from Austin Powers, I mean, I think you could work in that role. I really do.
Okay, not nice.
Scotty don't.
All right, so Jim is Dr. Evil.
That's the only reaction we're going to get from Rockstar?
Jim's Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
You're Scott.
Who is Scott then? If Rockstar is Scott, who is Scott? Scott is number two.
Number two.
Frau Habissina.
Yeah. Tyler is Random Task.
Number 2.
Tyler's
Thank you, Random
Task.
Task Man.
Oh my gosh.
Make it look like you're doing something.
And I'm going to say after the Dune popcorn bucket, Ryan Brown is Goldmember. That's what I'm going to say.
I love
Yes.
gold.
Yeah, that's what. All right, we're going to leave it at that. One thing we love, John, that's MyBookie, our title sponsor.
Go to mybookie.ag, play some games there. Hey, college basketball taking a little break, but obviously March Madness coming up. Go and bet on all the games. All those spreads are up for all the games starting tomorrow with the first 4. So go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round when you make that first deposit. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with our friends at MyBookie.
We appreciate our studio sponsor. That is Culver's. I went to Culver's this past weekend. Absolutely delectable. Welcome to delicious for sure. At Culver's, had a deluxe butter burger, 2 patties, cheese, toppings. They put the toppings on the bottom of the burger. It really is a perfected version of how to do a cheeseburger. You should check it out there at Culver's. I did a round of the frozen custard. It was awesome. The concrete with marshmallow cream and Oreo pieces. You cannot miss Culver's of Hoover or Culver's of Birmingham. Check out either one of those locations. Tell them the Meltdown sent you. We'll be back tomorrow. This has been the Meltdown presented by MyBookie, broadcasting live from the Culver's studio.